Hi, my name is Camille and I'm a skier. I love to ski because it's my means of self-expression. It's how I can put movement to how I'm feeling. It's also a really great environment to reestablish or work on your relationship with fear. And I'll tell you why that has been really important for me. So I grew up skiing, I grew up ski racing. I was like a natural talent, I would say, which is cool to begin with, but ended up being my demise. I think that what happened for me being kind of like naturally gifted is that I equated results without having to try. And I thought that having to try implied that you weren't actually that good. And so I had these expectations of myself to be excellent at something, but I didn't feel like it was important for me to put in the effort. And so anyway, that only works for so long. And then, my natural abilities started to wane kind of as competition in ski racing began to intensify. And I didn't know how to navigate that. I was like paralyzed by fear. I was scared of failing. I was scared of not being able to accomplish something the first try. I didn't want to look stupid. I was so preoccupied with what people thought. And yeah, just what it meant for me if I were to fail at something. And so I quit racing. And that was devastating because I also lost my avenue of self-expression. And I didn't start skiing again until I was 31. And I learned a lot in that period of time. I learned a lot of things the hard way. But I learned a lot about fear and failure, and I can apply that to my skiing now. And it's made a world of difference. It's offered me a freedom in my skiing that I didn't have before. And so I'd like to share with you two things. And the first is that failure is necessary and should be celebrated. Failure is an integral part of progress, and it's a necessary ingredient. And I think that it should be welcomed and understood that with progress and with mastery comes failure. And there's a quote that says, "A master has failed more than the beginner has ever tried." And I like to keep that in mind when I'm learning something. The second is about fear. And I'm going to quote the late and great Carrie Fisher. For those of you who don't know, is the OG Princess Leia. And she says, "Stay afraid, but do it anyway. What's important is the action. You don't have to wait to be confident. Just do it, and eventually the confidence will follow." And, formerly I used to think that you had to wait to be confident in order to do something, but that's actually the opposite way. The confidence comes through the trying, And so what's a practical application of this? And I'd like to demonstrate how I exercise this when I'm skiing. And hypothetically, I'm standing on top of a cliff and I get scared. I'm nervous. I start thinking to myself, what am I doing up here? This is dangerous. What if I fall? And then I formerly would have just walked away, skied away. But what I do now is I acknowledge that I'm scared. I take a couple deep breaths, 3 or 5 or whatever, and I hype myself. I tell myself that I'm going to stomp it. I give myself positive affirmations. I am my number one hype girl. I close my eyes, I visualize landing, and I decide that with all of this emotion, I'm going to jump anyway. And after that, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I yard sail, it doesn't matter if I stomp. The progress is just through stepping over that threshold. I like to think of fear as a threshold rather than a barrier. Like a barrier, you think of something you can't go through, but a threshold, you just step over. And by taking that leap, I'm exercising that. And I feel like the more I do it, the more I can welcome fear, the more I can move through it, and the more I can accomplish what it is in my heart that I want to. And skiing offers that in a myriad of ways, whether it's a steep pitch or a mogul field or whatever. Just acknowledging that you're feeling frightened and then deciding to move through it in that way opens up a whole new world of possibilities and self-expression.